Under the title of Building a Trusted Society, Information Dissemination and Circulation, we would like to offer a panel discussion. Allow me to introduce the member of the panel. Digital Agency Director for International Data Strategy and International Affairs, Ms. MaikoMeguro. From Project Associate Professor at Graduate School of Media and Governance, Keio University, Visiting Scholar, Georgetown University, Mr. Tatsuya Kurosaka. And the moderator for this session will be Professor, School of Information and Telecommunication Engineering, Mr. Ikuo Misumi. So, Mr. Misumi, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rich. In this session, I would like to discuss the trustworthiness of information. In the digital society, almost everything, including business and daily life, depends on ICT, such as IoT, Internet of Things, the Internet, and recently generative AI. And in such a society, such a society, trustworthy data and information are essential. For example, if data for self-driving cars is incorrect, then it might lead to an accident. So trustworthy data and information are essential. The internet is global, and data and information move internationally, and then some questions arise. For example, whether data transferred to other countries are properly protected as I expect. For example, if my personal activity records are not protected as I expect, then if my personal record be tracked, then I don't want to transfer such information, my personal information, to other countries. Therefore, we would like to discuss today. We'd like to discuss some questions. For example, what requirements should be met for information to be considered trustworthy? How information should be handled in other countries to be deemed trustworthy, and what actions should be taken to ensure this? So in this session, we have the outstanding panelists, two outstanding panelists, Dr. Kurosaka and Dr. Meguro. So first, would you introduce yourself? First, Dr. Meguro.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much, Professor Misumi, for your setting the overview of this panel. So I'd like to make my presentation just on the first page about myself. So I am MaikoMeguro, who is working as a director at the Digital Agency, and I am leading the policy file on the data free flow with trust and the establishment of the international data governance. I'm also working as a G7, G20 representative on the digital tech ministerial process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Dr. Kurosaka, please.
Yes. Is it audible, my voice? Right. It's okay. Yeah, let me start. Thank you very much and I'm honored to be here. My name is Tatsuya Kurosaka. I'm a project associate professor at the Graduate School of Keio University. And also, I'm now visiting scholar of the Georgetown universities, and I'm living in the Virginia and next to the Washington D.C. So that's why I am enjoying this session from the remote by using Zoom. So thank you very much. And today I would like to discuss the resolutions that this hard severe problems about information, so the trustworthiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we'd like to start the discussion. First question, why is it necessary to recognize that information is trustworthy? From your perspectives, could you share any actual problems or potential issues that have arisen? Dr. Kurosaka, please.
Yes. First of all, let me introduce by myself more and in deep. I mentioned I'm associate professor working for Keio University, and I'm being engaged in research on the telecommunication policy and AI policy and digital trust as well. And then I'm taking a role of the Secretary General of the Originator Profile, a collaborative innovation partnership, which is gathered from the Japanese media and the tech companies in order to develop and deploy the technology that allowed end users to verify the authenticity of information. I'm going to introduce the Originator Profile in more detail later. So, by the way, I became visiting researchers at the Georgetown University and Virginia Tech in the United States. And it means that our family and I were watching the presidential election up close. And every time we are talking with my colleague and neighborhoods as well about various things related to campaigns. Let me show my small experiences. It's very important for me to recognize issues of the reliability of information is in crisis. And some news of the elections coming from Japan as well, it seems to raise our concern of democracy, not only for the specific region like United States or Japan, but general problems for our generations. And also, I have been working as a consultant in the TMT, telecom media tech industry for over 25 years and supporting investment of digital infrastructure and launching a business based on the emerging technologies like AI, Gen AI, something like that. And nobody doubts that digital technologies is advancing at a remarkable pace. And AI is having the same impact as the deployment of the internet, probably 25, 30 years ago. I totally agree that we are standing at the historical moment of welcoming a new era coming, gathering new technologies, emerging technologies as well. And on the other, generated AI, Gen AI so-called, is still immature because Gen AI can't avoid the problems of hallucination yet. And Gen AI is technology that would amplify the bad work of malicious humans. Furthermore, do you know the Dr. Kahneman? He won the Nobel Prize. As Dr. Kahneman points out in his discussion, the system 1 and system 2, since the work of the brains of the mankind, we are not immediately prepared for on the human side because you're working especially based on the system 1 brains, which doesn't think critically, and we need a system to analyze the information securely, but we don't have any system, the working system for our own brain as a system tools. It means that we are not enough to catch up to these situations coming from the Gen AI, And I feel that this is negative for both social stability and sustainable growth as well. So that's why I'm focusing on the trust out of the internet. This is my work, but I have the severe problems that is the internet able to be trusted? You can see this slide. This mentions structures, architecture of the internet. If you are if you have any knowledge about engineering to the internet, you know this kind of the structure models, layer models. But every time we speak in the layers and the layer 7 and 7 layers models or 5 layers models and based as IP set models and depending the protocols, but nobody knows how, and who provides trust for data, communication, and transactions as well. I mean, says the internet. I believe that I like internet. I love internet, and I depending on the internet. But I can't trust internet because the technologies, the base of technologies of the internet can provide the trust these times. And this slide that I would like to mention after that. So this is my point of view, and also just stop to my presentation to interrupt my presentations, and this is my concern that how do we trust our digital society, the digital space based on the internet and based on the Gen AI, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kurosaka. So as everyone, especially like you, believes the internet is dependable, but actually it's not. So that is a challenging issue. So would you please, Dr. Meguro?
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Kurosaka. And adding to the point which had just been made by the Dr. Kurosaka, as for more the technological perspective, from our perspective, which is the government perspective, the biggest issue for the trust is more pertaining to the difference of how we think about the trust and how we actually prioritize the different elements of trust. So you see in the slide, so this is basically the slide to explain how we established the data free flow with trust concept and how we developed this concept alongside with G7, G20 and other international forums discussion. So as you see here, we've been discussing on this topic since 2019. I mean, so this is actually the G20 summit in Osaka's picture. And there, the leaders discussed that if you see this part, if you see this, the reference part, while raising the challenges related to privacy, data protection, intellectual property rights, and security. So that was a huge issue back then. Everybody knew that data must flow internationally as a premise of digital society. But because data concerns, sometimes for some country, it's a really huge issue of the privacy. For some other country, this can raise a lot of questions about cybersecurity or national security. Or for business community, this could also mean that concern regarding how their trade secret could be, for example, protected. So from our perspective, the biggest challenges was really about how we could actually coordinate the different priorities regarding the legitimate interest of the different dimension of data, and also how other countries, how different countries actually adapt these legal interests in their own domestic legal and social economic ecosystem. I mean, we've been working on that from the government aspects because we have been discussing this ever since like 2019, and at the Hiroshima summit, we actually had a good discussion about it, and we really realized that we have the gaps in international governance in terms of addressing this sort of differences across the different legal interests, but also different systems. So we really try to work on the type of governance, which is cross-sectoral, international rules, regulatory policy cooperation, technical cooperation. This is a part which really about, we need to work on the cross-sectoral cooperation, because the privacy people does work on privacy, and security people, they basically work the topic from the security aspects, right? So that is why that we really have to focus on these cross-sectoral issues. And of course, I mean, when it comes to the solution, I think the Professor Misumi gonna go on the discussion on the solution after the question after, but I'm just gonna give you a little bit of a heads up. We also need to talk about different tools which we can actually coordinate between the different policy fields, but also different countries. So we could talk about international rules. We could talk about perhaps like each different regulatory corporations for each sector. Or perhaps we could also talk about technologies. But this also comes with a huge governance challenges, because, I mean, we have the privacy regulators, we have the security people, we have the trade negotiator, but these are all from the different communities. And how we could actually bridge these different common senses, different rationality, and different priorities. So this was the biggest challenges that we actually faced at the international level. I stop here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Meguro. So I understand that there are lots of issues to be discussed and to be studied, and and sector by sector, country by country, they have their own language and meanings. So so I understand you have challenging business. So, so do you have any plan to solve this situation?
I mean, that is exactly where the DFFT was functioning. So the point of having this concept of trust at the center of the data flow discussion was because we wanted to bridge the topic, privacy, security, intellectual property, trade, competition law, under the heading of data governance, trust in data governance. So this was really the key cornerstone for international digital governance. The Japanese government established this concept of data free flow with trust, and we really brought in this constructive attitude that this is not that we discussed that whether or not we should flow the data internationally or not. This is about, we talk about the conditions where we can actually confidently flow the data across the borders. So that was really the thing. But I mean, we could also talk about the solution part. But if, I mean, do you want to already move on to the solution part? Okay, could you put the slide on again? Thank you. Okay, so at the international conferences, we the negotiator, leaders, and of course ministers, they all recognize that there has been the huge gaps in international governance in terms of how we could actually bridge the different policy aspects, different legal interests regarding the data governance. So we actually really came up with this solution, what is called institutional arrangement or partnership. This is an international mechanism where we actually bring together the expert. Expert means that we also government people, but also tech community people. So perhaps like a Kurosaka sensei, Professor Kurosaka could be also those like expert people. So which means we bring in the regulators, government people, tech community, business community, like all those people who knows how to provide a solution to recognize the barriers in terms of the cross-border data flows. Because if we start talking about something very abstract, we're not going to have the solution. So we focus on something very well recognized issue that hampers the data flow in international dimensions. So each working group are actually attributed to each problem that we kind of agreed. And we bring in the specific expert from the government and non-government to work on this specific project. So then this goes up to so this actually institutional arrangement partnership, which has been endorsed by the Hiroshima leaders' commitment, that was basically established under the structure of the OECD. But one of the reasons that we actually put this structure underneath the OECD international organization is that even though we work on the specific solution by multi-stakeholders, we bring in brilliant people to work on the problem, we need to make government implement them, right? Implementation is the hardest part for those multi-stakeholder hip, cool initiative. So we decided to make things into the existing decision-making process and establish the implementation mechanism, which has been already been built for years underneath the OECD. So we create this like topic-based project groups underneath the OECD committee. Committee is basically the intergovernmental decision-making process. And we bring up this solution, we give the recommendation, give a proposal to those committee, and the committee discuss the topic and make their member state implement. So that is really the core of the structure, which is we really combine the traditional intergovernmental, interstate framework, plus we bring in more agile topic-based, innovative working groups. So that was basically the solution that we brought in terms of that type of the difficulty that I have just described.
Thank you very much. I have a question to Dr. Meguro. How do you bring your solution from OECD to non-OECD countries?
Good point. So that was a point that actually that was also put in the slide. So as you see in the circle 2, so this structure basically allows other regional and international organizations to also join at the working group level. So for topic by topic, for certain topic, we want to have more country from the different region other than the OECD members. Then we bring in the regional organization to work at the working group level, and they do the joint study, joint working on the solution. And once the solution is made, for OECD part, they just bring it up to the OECD structure. But for the other part, they just bring it up to the other international and regional organization decision making, and they each make their member state to implement. So that was the idea.
But if each region finds their own solution, then and if something gaps, then how do you?
So that was exactly the point that we made this structure, because if we work on certain joint project, there's a moment that this different type of country and expert can discuss and work on it. But previously, what was the difficulty for the data governance was we didn't have any space where the relevant people come together and discuss each other, because it was super fragmented across the sector by sector. So that was basically the idea that we bring together different people and try to work on the common solutions. And facilitation is basically done by the secretariat. Because if you just bring the smart people and let them discuss, it's nothing gonna happen. The secretariat, like project managing, is itself the very important expertise, and we entrust the OECD secretariat to work on this. But OECD is also strengthening their capacity to actually work on the data governance after establishment of this structure.
Thank you very much. So, Dr. Kurosaka, would you please talk about your approach to solving your problems or challenges you found?
All right. Before answering your questions, let me add Dr. Meguro's mentions. I totally agree with your opinions and your activities, because I am a member of the committees and working groups of the DFFT at OECDs. And this time I'm joining in the discussions, and I feeling the importance to share the values for each other, because it is the basis to discuss how we fill the gap, as Misumi Sensei mentioned. So every country, especially Japan, and then also the developed countries, and now like to use the word like-minded. This is the important words which mentioned the importance of the sharing the values, the common values. And this is the first step to discuss and fill the gap between each countries of the OECD members. And Misumi Sensei mentions how to expand this kind of the values and the concerns and the consideration to the non-OECD countries. This is the challenge to fill the gap, not only the like-minded, and also the kind of the understanding the gap and understanding the minded. So that's why we need to avoid the kinds of devices which occurs today in the ordinary life in the United States. It's a very severe situation. So yes, thank you very much. So this is the slide I would like to introduce. This is my experiences against the elections. So I live in Northern Virginia. It's close to Washington, D.C., and it's a riverboat areas as known as the so-called blue states. But I would reach the countryside after driving 1 hour, whereas many people support the GOP and Mr. Trump. So this is contributed to situations, and I realized, first of all, the presidential election was not at all exciting. I think you all know that Harris and Trump did not really harmonize with each other at the presidential debate. I think there's many Japanese watching the presidential debates and broadcasting by ABCs. Then the anchorman David Muir was fact-checking Trump's opinions. I thought that this kind of approach, fact-checking approach, and in real time, would help ensure the proper distribution of those informations. But Trump supporters didn't change their position, as if to say that ABC was the enemy of society, and Mr. David Muir was the enemy of the Trumpians. This is very nightmare situations. On the other, Harris and her teams took the stance that Trump and his supporters were stupid. It was describing the fragmentations of the societies, and it was a big fault not for herself, but many voters of the United States. So when there is no hope for change, I felt that people would lose interest. That's why I mentioned it was not exciting. As you have already known, the result has been a landslide victory for the Trump and the Republican parties. So, from this experience, I have thoughts about a few things. The first, and even if fact-checking itself worked, it did not move voters hard. The reason for this is probably that there has always been a large divide. Secondly, it seems that divided voters are not interested in truth of information, but are more concerned that it reinforces their own ideas. It seems that what Julius Caesar said, people see what they want to see, still works in the 21st century. As a result, social media has become the place of engagement rather than the place of wisdom or the place for discussions. In this case, it seemed that the two sides were competing to strengthen the engagement within their own divided communities. So this is very nightmare situations, but I still believe that the dialogue can change society for the better. However, looking at the recent presidential elections, I feel that dialogue is necessary to change society, but it is not clear whether dialogue will actually change society. It's very complicated situations. It's necessary to take action to rebuild the states of trust. And this will be not only the legal systems, the legal system is very important, but also the technical approach. So that's why I would like to talk about the trust. So this is very difficult word. The trust is a very ambiguous word, and its meaning can depend on the context very much. To be honest, I'm not very good at using the word trust. But this time, I tried to make an assumption about this trust. I would say that it is the degrees to which you believe that the other party will behave as you expected them to, without checking facts. It's very complicated, but please imagine when you are shaking a hand with each other, this is similar to shaking hands, especially for the first times. We extend our hand to the other persons without trusting each other. At this point, we don't ask for the prior inspections, worry that a razor might be hidden between their fingers. It's very dangerous. However, just because we shake hands, it doesn't mean we trust the other person 100%. So I mean that this is very controversial, but we don't have trust at first time, but we should shake hand each other. And but after that, we don't trust each other 100%. It's very difficult, but we are used to do this kind of situations in the ordinary life. So that's why it's very important to define, to find the meanings of the trust. So let me say again, since I'm talking about the next context, in the context of the trust informations. So how I think it is information trust. It's very difficult, but we can find this kind of structures to trust informations. I think the basis for ensuring the reliability of information is being able to confirm that the sender of the information exists and that the sender has appropriate incentives. It looks easy, but it's difficult. That is why phishing and spoofing are so raised. This time, so many people are understanding that the fears of the phishing, the spoofing coming there, but many people says, why did you drop in the trap of the phishing, the spoofings? Because this is very difficult to understand, very difficult to recognize the existence of the informations and the information distributors as well. So that's why this is the first step and the basis of, to trust information. And next, it's necessary to verify that the publisher's business procedures are being carried out properly and that the publisher is taking responsibility for its business. The differences of quality would be made depending on whether the work is done carefully. The careful work is not just a matter of the spirits, but should also be expressed as business processes and governance as well. So as Dr. Meguro mentioned, the governance is very important. I totally agree with that opinions because there's many of the accuracy and many of the careful works should describe the practical work, and also it should be depending on the practical governance as well. Furthermore, the quality of the information is determined by whether it's accurate and whether any errors can be corrected immediately. With this approach, we should be able to trust information. So this is our overviews of the trust. And I have more resolutions, but I stop my talk. So back to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Kurosaka. I understand the situation, serious situation, and I just reminded the song "Imagine" by John Lennon. Although situation and issues are very different, but trust each other is very, and listen to the others what they are saying. It's very important, and you to your explanation about technology, and you raised very important key checkpoints to check trustworthiness of information. And okay, thank you. And that they are very important checkpoint. And then I would like to move on to the next question. In a challenging society where does about the trustworthiness of the information arise, how should business people or individuals prepare and behave? Dr. Meguro, please.
Sure. So in terms of what could be done by the citizens or business people, I believe that recently very interesting direction has been shown by the leaders, actually this year's Puglia Summit. So there was actually the new recognition about how we could actually address risks arising out of the interaction between the AI and also the interaction between the advanced technology like AI and data. And also we have to think about the sensitive data's protection like genomic data. Then of course, I mean, we are really facing the difficulty, particularly for businesses and individuals. For example, our environment, like our digitalized environment, it's regardless for businesses, for citizens, for even for us, government, all those digital systems are coming from market. It's from the private vendors. Then the question is, if the threat is hidden in those systems, for example, if there's a spyware, well, we don't even know when those data are taken for the sake of the operation of the digital system, but we don't know where this goes after it went to somewhere else. After it was extracted, we lose the track of where data goes, how it is processed, and how this is going to be end, right? So for each individual, or even for government, it is becoming more and more difficult about how our data are used, how our data are processed, or even disregarded in the end. And particularly when it comes to the AI's intervention, that goes beyond the human recognition, because AI have much higher ability in terms of the processing of data or collecting of data, and we don't even know, even for tech people, what's going to happen in near future, right? So we are really trying to, like we the government are really trying to work on the new line of the security topic, which is what is called the data security. So this is basically complementary ID to the cyber security, which are considered at the information system level. We really consider that for each citizens, each businesses, the data should be controllable, and they could protect the right attached to the each data. For example, privacy or intellectual property, such as trade secret. We try to make the certain systems and technology available for businesses and citizens to have autonomy over the data that they own. They have the right claimed on it. So this type of the policy is something we're really strongly working on as a government, interagency basis. And we really believe that, for example, the Kurosaka-san or those like smart people, they're working on a lot of technological solutions, right? Technological solution to actually protect the data and also make the data for citizens and businesses to traceable even after the data cross the borders. But we also have to think about how these technology could be accessible and usable for those businesses and citizens. So that is why that capacity buildings or creating the guidelines for the businesses and the citizens, how they could actually handle the data is critical importance. And we believe that that is where that government can support and provide the direction as a state and can help out. But we need to cooperate with the expert like Dr. Kurosaka or Dr. Misumi to actually work on the solution and make them available to the public. So I stop here and I wait for the responses by the Kurosaka-san.
Okay, thank you very much. So Dr. Kurosaka, please.
All right, thank you very much. That's very interesting. That's a very important point. Yes, I totally agree. I'm working for the technologies, but every technologies needs to be used for the ordinary peoples. So that's why the deployment is so important for all the resolutions as well. So let me introduce our approach and originator profiles. This is the technologies which discloses the information on content creators using the digitalized code. This is by making it's possible to identify the organizations or information. The technology is expected to establish a system that enables readers, or in other words, end users to easily recognize media organizations and the content that have been authenticated by a third party, and the data that flowed disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, and other fraud as well. So as I mentioned before, the OP is a technology developed based on this approach I mentioned before. This is this kind of the technical approach, and the OP is just simple and just a single technology that itself does not screen media or organizations or advertisers or something like that, and also the enterprises. So we don't make the filters out of the informations, but OP would like to contribute. The OP would like to help end users to verify the information when the end user feel difficulties, feel the affairs, something like that. So let me introduce the practical use case and the practical user interfaces of the OP. The OP technologies provide information that confirms the existence of the authenticities of the originators, especially for the publishers. Such as content creators and the content aggregators and the advertisers as well. So the information is verified third party, and then the same sign that it's displayed the browsers, web browsers with automatic verifications and authentications icon. So it means when the end user would like to verify the information coming from the internet, the OP it can help to validate and verify the information and which this information was coming from, and also the which the publisher is existed, how it existed. So, for example, so many major newspapers company in Japan, they are joining the newspapers organizations called the Shimbun Kyokai in Japan. And this is associations of the newspapers companies and which need the certifications when the newspaper company joined the associations. And this is the basis of the governance of the industries of newspapers, and the OP would like to use this kind of the existed governance to verify the existence of the newspaper companies and their own governance, like code of conduct or something like that. So this is helpful information for the end users when end users feel is this truth, or this is real information, something like that. And now we have over 40 media and the companies mainly from Japan that are shown. However, so you can find the name, the News Corporation that next to the NHK. They are one of the giant publishers in the world, founded Mr. Rupert Murdoch. And they are also tackling the problems that I mentioned today. So OP is aiming to be standardized fundamental technology of the internet. Because so that's why we are now working for the World Wide Web Consortium, which is the standardization bodies to the web technologies. And we are planning the first deployment in the next years for the end users and the consumers this time. So I think this OP is a very easy way for end users, but it's very hard to deploy these times because this very complicated structures mainly used for the industrial architecture structures, and we are depending on this kind of the governance, but I hope it will work because that's governance, that's ordinary governance, already known for not only industry people, but also the end users as well. So that's why we would like to harmonize this kind of the situation between the industrial affairs and the consumers' concerns. So this is our approach. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I understand that awareness raising in a plain language is very important because government issues and technical issues, those are very complicated and difficult to understand for ordinary people. So, but still, those approaches are very important. Okay. So, lastly, reviewing our discussion, could you give a closing remarks, Dr. Meguro?
Sure. So as a closing, I would like to just say that, I mean, trust in cross-border data flows, particularly, in terms of the international relationship, it is very important that we could really focus on the difference, but we should accept also differences. So we really have to presume on the difference of the system, but also we also have to presume the fast developing situation, like presumption also keep changing. So this is why that anything that we provide, anything that we explain today must be catching up the actual reality. And we really believe that it's quite important that, particularly in line with the data security topic that I have just discussed, that citizens and businesses should have their own means and rights to actually follow what happens to their own important data. Data includes the privacy, personal data, but also trade secret, etc. And government should really make it possible of course, coordinating the different sector within the society, but also internationally to make it happen this environment for everybody.
Thank you very much. Dr. Kurosaka, please.
All right. Thank you very much. It's very, very interesting, the very important discussion today. And as a conclude, as I mentioned, trust is a concept that's so difficult to define, and also the means that it is difficult to reach the consensus for each other's. The trust is hard to make a consensus as well. So I think it is important for business people in particular to keep in mind questions of what is the states in which trust can be recognized and what are the requirements that make up trust. In this context, it is necessary to clarify your values. In other words, to be aware of what you values. I mentioned this, and Dr. Meguro mentioned as well. The value is very important because to make a consensus of the trust. This is important not only at an individual levels, but also then industrial levels and the governmental levels as well. So that's why Dr. Meguro's work hard, and also I'm joining in the working groups of the OECDs to discuss what is the values, what is your important values to ask for all governments, all the industrial peoples, and also the individuals. On the other, I think it's a very difficult issue for individuals as well. We don't live with a clear awareness of our inner feelings. I think what is necessary for individuals is about to be honest with their own feelings. I mean, what are you thinking about? It's very important questions. And to stop if there anything suspicious and try to verify it. Verification is very, very important to help each other and to help individuals. I think this will greatly reduce the numbers of the people who get any problems in the context of the digital communities and digital space. This is my conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kurosaka. So now time is reaching. So through the discussion, and I think we are able to understand the overall picture to be noticed regarding the trustworthiness of information. And awareness raising, I think awareness raising is very important for ordinary people, and that is the key to reach the goal. So thank you very much. So I would like to express my gratitude to all the participants. Thank you very much.